I am a visualizer, and I visualized giving this talk and what it would feel like to potentially embarrass myself. Forgetting my words, falling on stage, my family doing the wave when I came out. Hopefully that didn't happen. Now, I can't visualize everything, but what I can helps me feel more prepared for the challenges that I might face. And I first started using this form of visualization when I did something scary, or as my colleagues called it, a potential disaster. I ran a marathon in Antarctica. And marathoners follow the same rule as vegans and CrossFitters. We must tell everybody that we do it. So here I am telling you about it. And if you don't know the history of the sport of marathon, legend has it that a Greek messenger ran to the town of Athens, Greece, to tell everyone that the Persians had been defeated. He ran for 26 miles, and then he collapsed and died. That's how this sport got started. And I ran one in Antarctica. And if you've ever seen Antarctica on a globe, it's the part in white. I think white stands for cold. Temperatures hovered around 15 degrees Fahrenheit, minus the wind chill. And I had to wear 3 layers of clothes while I ran, so I looked like that little kid from A Christmas Story who couldn't put down his arms. And to me, I was going to have to spend more to go to Antarctica than my car was worth. But creating meaningful experiences, to me, is an investment in a life worth living, much more so than acquiring tangible things like a luxury car. To get to Antarctica is not easy. It's quite a feat. People always ask me, how do you get there? And I had to travel to the bottom of Argentina, and then I boarded a boat with about 100 runners. And then we sailed through some of the choppiest waters in the world for 3 days. And I suffer from extreme sea and motion sickness. And to give you an idea of how bad it is, I went through the teacups ride at Disneyland, and then the staff came to me and asked me never to return. So I visualized how I would deal with the seasickness, and I visualized myself staying calm, going outside to get fresh air, and carrying a vomit bag with me always. And luckily, the staff on the ship lined the hallways of hundreds of vomit bags every morning. And by the end of the night, only a couple remain until I use them. But soon enough, we arrive in Antarctica, and it is race day, and everyone is dehydrated, which if you've ever run a marathon, you know that is not the way you want to start a marathon. And we had to carry all our own nutrition and water, because there were no aid stations on the course. And we also couldn't leave any garbage behind to feed our spectators on the course, which were thousands of penguins. And on the course, I had to climb up a glacier twice. And with every step I took forward, I ended up falling back 2 steps. So I locked arms with a number of runners, and we marched our way up the glacier to add more weight to ourselves. But the conditions of the glacier became such a blizzard that we couldn't see, and so a race director actually drove an ATV up to the top of the glacier, spun it around, turned on its headlights, and started yelling to the runners, "Go toward the light." Which I thought sounded ironic, because that is what they tell you to do when you die. And I thought, this is like the original marathon. I might die. And I did not visualize death on this race. And I watched several runners get injured. One runner breaks his hip and has to be carted off the course. At mile 5, I fall into a sandy, muddy pit, and I start to sink. But luckily, I am a fan of the show Man vs. Wild with Bear Grylls, who once demonstrated how to get out of quicksand. And I thought, what a useless skill. Who gets stuck in quicksand? But in my research about Antarctica, I realized that that is a thing. And so I visualized myself using the skills from the show and then also my water bottle as leverage to hoist myself out. So when I do start to sink, I do not panic, and I do just that. But unfortunately, I left the cap to my water bottle open, and mud gets in, and for the next 10 miles, I am drinking mud. But I was once voted San Diego's worst home chef, true story, and so the mud just kind of tastes like my cooking. At mile 18, I enter an Alfred Hitchcock movie, because Antarctica is home to attacking birds. They attack you and then try to eat you, but I visualized this and I anticipated it, and I visualized myself using my water bottle as a weapon to fend themselves off. So when I do get attacked, I do not panic, and I do just that. At mile 20, it starts to rain sideways, and I think, how is this even possible? Like, maybe gravity's different at the bottom of the world. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. And it reminded me of that scene from Star Wars where, if you remember, the Millennium Falcon goes into hyperdrive and all the stars start to meld together. Only in Star Wars, they're going really fast, and I'm going about the same pace as the penguin next to me. And at this point, the mud from the mud pit had dried to the bottom of my shoes, and every step feels like I'm picking up a weight. But I had visualized what it would be like to run 26 miles in bitter wind, and how I would position my body and change my stride. And I'm able to do just that, and I run through the rain. We also ran past a number of research stations, and a Russian researcher comes out with a canister of soup, and I can see the steam rising from the soup, and right now in life I want nothing more than that soup. So I offer him $1,000 for it, which I do not have, but he gives me some because some Russians can be nice. And I take a sip of that soup, and it is so spicy, which is great because now I know what the sun tastes like. And it also burns off my taste buds, which is also great because now I can officially eat my own cooking. But despite all these hardships, 6 hours and 44 minutes later, which is not a good marathon time, I finish. Well, thank you. I like this photo because it shows a runner behind me, which is photographic evidence I did not come in last place. He does look about 40 years older than I am, but I do not like to focus on that aspect. I've interviewed and researched hundreds of athletes over the years, and I've come to realize that visualizing obstacles is necessary for success. Think back to the Winter Olympics and those freestyle skiers who would float through the air. What would happen if a wind gust flew at them mid-jump, or the weather suddenly turns bad? These are things Emily Cook of the United States freestyle ski team thinks about. She runs through all the negative things that could happen to her. That way she can get back where she needs to perform mentally. Think back to the Jamaican bobsled team, which sounds like an oxymoron, but it is not. That is a thing. And they have to, how would they visualize going over ice if they've never even seen snow? They have to do the mental preparation, and they have to do a lot of research. This form of visualization has helped me accomplish a number of my other marathon goals, including racing over an ice cap in the Arctic Circle in Greenland, climbing almost 6,000 steps at the Great Wall of China Marathon, running in 100+ degrees through the desert of Jordan. And at a race in Cuba, I was hit by a car. And then at a race in Peru, I was hit by a city bus. But visualization got me to the finish line of every single one of those races. And some might say I created these hardships for myself simply by visualizing them. And to those people I say, you are clearly not familiar with marathons. They are never easy. People die, okay? I now challenge you to shift your own visualization technique. No, you can't visualize everything, but through research, mental preparation, and experience, you will feel more confident and prepared to cross your own finish line, whatever finish line that may be for you. Thank you.